peak of their popularity as a group. The first tease of a DX split happened in the first 2 weeks of August, starting with an X-Pac vs Triple H match for the #1 contender at Rock's IC title at SummerSlam, ending with Chyna interfering in Hunter's favor to set up a confrontation between all 4 members for the following week, with them shown arriving separately throughout Raw's first hour, ending up in a swerve of them revealing that the group is together, with the segment jumping over 900,000 viewers to a 4.8 rating. The summer-long DX Nation feud was heating up in the final build for the payoff at SummerSlam, having a street fight on August 17 drawing a near-peak 4.4 rating to put Raw in the lead for the first time on the night. After the last couple months of mostly staying in the background of NWO Hollywood, Bret Hart in a new character twist got the opportunity to carry segments on his own in angles with Booker and Dallas Page, along with the start of the program with Sting, cutting several subtle heel promos with the idea that he's on the way out of the NWO, while getting to showcase his strengths in long TV matches as US Champion. Bret was in the main event on August 3 attempting to team up with Sting against Giant and Hall, while a week later on the show built as Night of Champions with every belt defended. Bret had his biggest number of the month, going 17 minutes in a US title match against Lex Luger, gaining over 700,000 viewers to WCW's biggest quarter of the night, drawing a 5.1 rating. Bret was back near the main event in another title match against Page on August 17, gaining viewers over 2 quarters from a 4.4 to 5.1, with him recruiting Stevie Ray to NWO Hollywood the following week after turning on Booker in a segment, drawing a 4.9. Vince McMahon continued to be in the center of the top storyline heading into SummerSlam, opening the show in promo segments for 3 of the 4 weeks to set the stage for the rest of the show, with the main angle heading into the pay-per-view being Vince trying to reveal the Taker-Kane partnership. Vince came out at the top of the hour on August 3, hyping the Highway to Hell build-up and booking Austin and Taker defending the belts against Rock and Owen, for later to bring them both out to the ring in a segment jumping big to a 5.7 rating, with McMahon confronting Mankind and Austin the next 2 weeks to set up the reveal of Taker and Kane in a promo on August 24, with him involved in 2 segments later in the night, raising the cage to prevent Austin and Taker fighting before SummerSlam, and the overrun an hour later of him calling out Taker to ask if he's a friend or foe. Kane and Mankind started August in a tag match against the Outlaws in a SummerSlam preview, bumping Raw over 500,000 viewers to a 4.9 rating. Mankind opened the show on August 10 calling out McMahon, with Bearer and Kane following to set up the main event of them teaming in a 4 corners tag match, doing the peak 5.2 rating, with their biggest match number of the month coming against each other on the loaded Raw on August 24 with the first televised Hell in a Cell match, giving Raw the lead for the first time on the night against a record WCW audience in a violent match, gaining over 1.3 million viewers to a 5.3 rating. The feud between the 2 NWO groups continued on TV and escalated to new heights behind the scenes, with the heat between Nash and Hogan taken to the next level, to the point where Nash refused to go out for a scheduled promo mid-show on August 3 after the Wolfpack were booked to be attacked throughout the show with no response or comeback, as Nash claimed that Hogan is trying to sabotage the Wolfpack's popularity. On the same night, the main event saw a Wolfpack vs Hollywood match with Hall and Giant against Sting and Luger, replaced by Bret, drawing a 4.2 rating, with Nash making his in-ring return the following week in a tag titles rematch of Nash and Sting against Hall and Giant, jumping over 400,000 viewers to a 4.8 rating, as both group returned to ringside moments later for the Goldberg vs. Main NWO Lumberjack match, doing a 5.9 rating. Luger had strong viewership gains throughout the month in matches with Bret Hart and Bryan Adams, while Giant in a new partnership with Scott Hall had the biggest average rating of the two groups, being involved in big main events including a 6.3 on August 17 for a match against Goldberg, with the biggest NWO number of the month coming on August 24 with a main event of Nash and Goldberg against Hogan and Giant, drawing a near-record 6.5 rating. Rock's momentum was growing rapidly with every show in August heading into a career-elevating performance at SummerSlam, starting the month in the Raw main event of the first 2 weeks with Rock and Owen Hart teaming up to challenge Austin and Taker for the tag belts after winning a #1 contenders match on the debut episode of Heat a day earlier, doing the peak 5.9 rating. A week later was Rock and D'Lo teaming up in a stacked Four Corners tag match, also drawing a show-high 5.2, with August 17 building to the final stage of the Nation DX program with the factions street fight bumping Raw over 1.4 million viewers to a 4.4 rating, one of only 2 Raw segments on the night to outdraw WCW. Ending the month in a major heat angle on the go-home show for SummerSlam, with Rock and the Nation locking DX backstage and coming out to confront Chyna in a segment that drew Raw's head-to-head peak 5.4 rating, and was again one of 2 Raw segments to win a quarter on the show, as Rock, with bigger mixed reactions by the week on the way to the upcoming turn, finished August having the most quarter-hour peak segments of the month in the WWF. After months of build-up to the moment, Undertaker and Kane finally revealed their partnership to open one of the most loaded Raw shows in history 6 days from SummerSlam on August 24, with Taker leading Kane to turn on Bearer in the opening segment of the show, doing a 4.7 rating in Raw's biggest opening in over a month. Taker and Austin in the final stage of the Highway to Hell build-up defended the tag belts in the first 2 weeks of August, doing show highs 5.9 and 5.2 ratings, with the storyline in the background of Taker teaming with Kane continuing in Raw's main event segment on August 17, with Kane dressed as Taker brawling with Austin while Taker himself drove him out of the building, leading to the payoff on August 24 to end one of the best pay-per-view build-ups of all time, with Taker and Kane setting the stage on fire with Austin near it to close the show, and the overrun going unopposed at over 11:03 p.m. drawing a 6.1 rating. Steve Austin opened August bumping Raw almost 3 million viewers throughout for his promo and main event match, first coming out at the top of the hour to confront Taker and McMahon, telling Taker that he can keep the tag belts as the WWF title is the only thing he wants, jumping over 1.3 million viewers to a 5.7 rating, with their tag title match against Rock and Owen less than an hour later gaining even bigger with over 1.6 million viewers to a 5.9. Austin and Taker lost the tag belts the following week in the main event Four Corners tag match, jumping over 900,000 viewers to a 5.2, with Austin opening Raw on August 17th driving a hearse into the arena, calling out Vince and hyping a confrontation with Taker for later in the show. With Raw in the final 2 weeks for SummerSlam, The company placed the final main event angles of Taker and Kane to start at over 11 p.m. into the overrun when WCW was already off the air, perhaps with the idea of wanting as many people as possible to watch the final sell for the pay-per-view and not go head-to-head with the big star power WCW main events that were doing huge numbers. That led to Austin and Taker coming out 2 minutes after 11 with the segment going unopposed, gaining over 1 million viewers to a 5.4 rating. A week later, Austin responded to the Taker-Kane team by saying that he's gonna take one of them out tonight, leading to him attacking Kane during the Hell in a Cell doing a 5.3, with the main event segment on the show again crossing into the overrun with the final Austin Taker-Kane angle going unopposed, picking up over 2.4 million viewers from the huge viewership of over 8 million viewers that WCW went off the air with to a 6.1 rating. Hulk Hogan established again in August '98 that he's still at the drawing top of wrestling television. While Hogan's numbers were boosted by being placed in hot segments throughout the month, no one in the industry when put in position to draw delivers bigger numbers than Hogan still does, having perhaps the biggest month for a wrestler in cable TV history with an all-time record viewership gain and the peak segment on the night on all 4 shows during the month. After back-and-forth exchanges on The Tonight Show and WCW TV, Hogan, Bischoff and Page shot the final angle for Road Wild with Hogan and NWO Hollywood beating down Page in front of Kimberly in a segment gaining over 700,000 viewers to a peak 5 rating. A week later, Hogan and both NWO groups were at ringside for a lumberjack match in the main event doing a 5.9 overrun, with Hogan's perhaps most memorable segment of the month taking place on August 17 with Ultimate Warrior making his return to wrestling after over 2 years, confronting Hogan with a 12-minute promo to lead to one of the biggest rating jumps in history, picking up over 2.3 million viewers to a near-record 6.4 rating. Warrior also boosted numbers the following week, coming out to a massive reaction in the second highest rated quarter of the night doing a 5.4 rating, with Hogan opening the show in the United Center to set up the main event of Hogan and Giant against Goldberg and Nash, doing another massive viewership gain from a 4.9 to 6.5 rating, which meant that even with the industry's 2 new megastars in Austin and Goldberg exploding in popularity over the last year, Hulk Hogan ended August '98 having the entire top 5 most watched segments in Monday Night Wars history. A month into his title run, Bill Goldberg took center stage in August, headlining 3 out of the 4 shows to some of the highest numbers in history. Goldberg came out on August 3, 5 days from the Road Wild pay-per-view, calling out both groups of the NWO, with Sting coming out in the first Goldberg-Sting interaction on television. With the WWF strategically going a few minutes over 11 to gain massive unopposed viewership in the last month, WCW responded in August by going into overruns for their final segment of the show, with Goldberg's string of main events starting on August 10 and a title match against Meng placed to start almost already in the overrun, as the match going against a big star Power 4 Corners tag match on USA Network jumped over 1.3 million viewers to a 5.9 rating, with WCW going with a similar formula a week later, having the first ever Goldberg vs. Giant match starting just before the top of the hour, with the entrances and first minutes of the match jumping over 900,000 viewers, while the match itself gained further to a near-record 6.3 rating with an over 2 million viewer gain. Goldberg's biggest number of the month came on August 24, first with Nash calling him out to the ring after taking 2 spears in the last month, setting up Goldberg and Nash teaming against Hogan and Giant for the main event, with the match peaking at record levels, first jumping over 1.6 million viewers to the joint second highest rated segment in history, doing a 6.5 rating, while going a couple minutes over 11 p.m., which saw the finish of the match into the overrun, gaining over a million viewers more to a huge 7.4 rating, with the broadcast overall drawing WCW's highest ever opposed rating with a 5.2. As the Goldberg momentum continued, having the highest average rating in the industry with a massive 6.4.